Thanksgiving is a 2023 horror film directed by Eli Roth and written by Jeff Rendell. It began life as a trailer during Grindhouse, joining the pantheon of quality also including Hobo with a Shotgun and Machete. There's some amount of irony in that last statement, although the exact amount is up to the viewer. It's a very traditional holiday-themed slasher similar to My Bloody Valentine or President's Day, with a masked killer, sins of the past, red herrings, and a final girl, and of course, Thanksgiving-themed deaths. The film takes a lot of inspiration from 90s slashers like Scream in its setting, the structure, and how the town is involved, but it unfortunately lacks a few of the best qualities from that film, including the meta-commentary and memorable characters. Sydney is an all-time final girl, and even ignoring the sequels, Randy, Dua, and Gale all have distinct personalities and roles to play in the film. In Thanksgiving, Jessica is a stock standard model without anything to set her apart. Her friends are even worse, and there's a decent amount of them. Their personalities range from kind of annoying to very annoying, and they tend to blend together. There are a couple of memorable side characters, however, notably the gun owner's son, who genuinely seems to care for the characters, offering them a variety of weaponry. Weirdly, the party that he helps organize has a lot of attention paid to it, and it feels like in a further reference to Scream it would be the finale, or at least the site of a murder, but it's completely tangential to the main plot. After the killer reveal that makes sense, but prior it feels like a missed opportunity. Even the father of Jessica, Thomas, who also owns the local Walmart replacement, is decently fleshed out and feels like a real person. Initially it seems like he's going to be business above all, but he stops that once people are getting hurt and tries to do the right thing. It seems like he feels genuine remorse for the inciting incident of the film, and his attempts to help the community were genuine, rather than trying to buy good press. Speaking of that incident, it's definitely one of the better parts of the film. Thomas decided that Black Friday should be more than a single day, and according to my local stores it's already a 2-week event, and opens the store at Thanksgiving, offering a free waffle iron to the first 100 customers. That, combined with extremely low security presence, inevitably leads to a riot, and 3 people die. While the violence is certainly over the top in this sequence, people have died during Black Friday sales before, and the crowd crush is a terrifying thing. It does very well in establishing tone, and is a fairly elaborate set piece with lots of people running around that really help that feel. The film had a budget of $15 million, low for a feature but high for a slasher, and they used it well. There's another large set piece later in the film during a parade that similarly offers a good sense of scope. It's also a scene taken directly from the original trailer, but offers a few fake-outs that keep it from feeling stale. There is a 1-year time skip after the original incident, and then after establishing all of the cast, killings start, with a figure using a John Carver mask, something that is iconic to the town. It does feel like everyone having these masks is going to play a bigger part, and later we see cops taking them off of a few people during the parade, but ultimately it comes to nothing. This highlights one of the larger flaws of the film, how things are set up but then don't pay off. For example, a new deputy is established, and he has an immediate confrontation with another detective, where they almost collide in cars. The waitress even mentions that she met the deputy before, and he seemed gruff. This seems to set him up as a suspect, being new in town and aggressive, but he has maybe 1 or 2 speaking lines in the rest of the film, and his conflict with the other detective is referenced but never resolved. This is Rendell's first screenplay, and elements like this really showcase that. Getting into spoiler territory, the other large problem with the script is the third act. The killer has murdered most of the people involved with the Black Friday massacre, and kidnapped the rest. They are live streaming a Thanksgiving dinner and feels like the finale of the film. It's also a bit odd to have a dinner scene not reference the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that's not necessarily a negative. Instead, it resembles Happy Birthday to Me more, a way deeper cut. This is another situation that was in the original trailer. This is also the first time the killer speaks, using a modulated voice, and lecturing about giving thanks and the pain they've caused. The main group of teens were all let in early to the store, and thus blamed for the riot, which is faulty reasoning, but the slasher villains aren't known for their stability. He murders one of their number, and then the final girl Jessica and Scuba are able to free themselves and run away. Scuba is too slow though, and gets smacked with an axe. Jessica manages to make it away and jump over the fence, leaving the killer behind with half a dozen easy victims. She runs some amount of distance and finds the sheriff bleeding on the ground, potentially dead. She takes his gun and then heads into the previously established location for the finale. Sort of. The sheriff then reappears, takes the gun back, and off-screen fires a bunch of shots. After the police arrive, they take his gun away and say they need to check it as shots were fired, which feels really important and is highlighted, but it again comes to nothing. Then there is the final reveal where the sheriff was the killer the whole time. However, he didn't kill any of the people he left at Thanksgiving dinner, or even Scuba, who he knocked out with an axe. He would have then had to go grab his cop car, manage to get knocked out by a teenager, and then be involved with the events of the finale. A single killer just doesn't make sense here, and it feels like sequel bait where it will be revealed that one of two very suspicious characters, the ex-boyfriend or the current boyfriend of Jessica, were also involved. The sheriff mentions that he was setting up the ex to take the fall, which would also make sense if he was a collaborator, because then there would be actual evidence, and the missed gunshots also add to that. There's also a moment where the killer burns his mask on the stove, creating a melted appearance. This feels like it was originally going to reveal the two killers, with one mask in disrepair and the other pristine. But at the end of that sequence, he simply exchanges the damaged one with a fresh one, rendering the whole thing pointless. Even if there were originally two killers, or there will be, slasher films should be self-contained, and while the killer surviving is obviously a trope of the genre, skipping the reveal of the second killer feels cheap. If there is no second killer, then the actions of the third act don't make any logical sense. While slashers sometimes have moments where a killer moves too fast or actions don't quite line up, it's rarely this bad. The other thing is that dramatically the dinner table makes much more sense as the finale. The whole film is about the holiday. That's how it starts and that's how it should end. And having some random factory is much less unique or relevant. Jessica is also not special in terms of the lore of the film. The killer is not saving her for last, so him abandoning everything else just to go after her doesn't make sense. Thanksgiving is a very traditional slasher, and the reveal scene at whodunit like this one is critical to get right. Scream did it expertly, creating one of the most replicated and iconic moments in the film, with the second killer being a solid twist. The reveal here is both too obvious and doesn't make sense, and it leaves the end of the film extremely lacking. Despite all of the flaws, however, there are still a number of elements that do work well. While many slashers these days use meta-humor, Thanksgiving instead has some slapstick and understated moments. After a particular victim gets cut in half, her bottom is hung by a 50% off sale banner. They let this moment lie without a corny pun. Some of the other dialogue is similarly pretty funny without being too quippy. The gore can fall into a similar category, with a few ridiculous decapitations and some pretty impressive effects. The centerpiece of the turkey kill is an effective reveal, if not quite as over the top as the original trailer. The chase scenes are largely done well and evoke good amounts of tension, although there are only a few of them. The film also respects what came before it in the genre, paying homage without being too on the nose. Things like the clown costume resembling the killer clowns from outer space, a kill that evokes the liquid nitrogen one from Jason X, and the killer's costume having elements of giallo films. In general, these feel like appreciating what has come before and trying to expand on it. Overall, Thanksgiving is a decent enough film, but it doesn't do anything unique or new for the genre. Its third act is lacking, but that's hardly an exclusive problem. And in general, it is a fun slasher. The kills are over top, and there are a few good set pieces that are at least grander on scale than the Friday knockoffs. There's currently a sequel in the works, so perhaps it will answer the lingering questions from the film and deliver a better total experience. Thank you for watching. I hope those who celebrate it had a lovely Turkey Day, and, as always, be well.